I grew up on a dairy farm. I loved growing up on the farm. It was the work I hated. It didn't pay very well. Those doggone cows milked twice a day, 4th of July, Christmas, the whole 9 yards. So I went to my father one day and I said, Pop, you're paying me about $50 a month. I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning, working until 8 o'clock at night. I've done the math on this doggone thing, and it looks like you're paying me about 17.5 cents an hour. And he stopped pushing the silage cart and he laughed. He put his head back. He roared. He thought that was the funniest thing that he had ever heard. He said, well, son, thank you for providing that information to you. And based on that, I didn't realize you're overpaid. You're fired. And he turned around and he pushed that silage cart, and I sat there stunned at such a quick verdict. I did not realize that he was more schooled in wage negotiations than I was. But then as I stood there, I said, you know what? He did buy me a car. I am taking about 20 gallons of gas a week. My mother's given me great food, a room and board and insurance. You know, at 17 years stupid, you don't think of that stuff, you know? And then I said, and you know what? Just the week before, I had tried to take a 7.5-foot green chopper underneath a 7-foot auger in the barnyard. I said I tried to take a 7.5-foot chopper under a 7-foot auger from the silo to the barn. Man, was that loud. I mean, I had been out a little late the night before. That woke me up. See, I was supposed to take that out to the side, but because I had been out promoting the farm industry so deep into the early mornings, my brain wasn't thinking, and I ran under that thing, and I think it took my brother about 3 weeks to pound all those dents out. And then the other thing dawned on me. He had a point. He said, Steve, Roberta, one of our high-producing cows, has mastitis. And see, we need to make sure that you put that milk in this bucket here. Because if it goes into the pipeline and gets in the bulk cooler, it'll have to be thrown away. Well, you can cry over spilled milk. Because I let that milk get in there, and they cranked that, and the 3 of the longest minutes of my life watching that milk go down. So he had a point about this racing, and then I thought, that's right. And last fall I had this other error. We had this gravity box with corn cobs in it, and you open the gravity box hatch at the bottom, and the gravity just put the stuff out in the elevator. I went back out in the field. Dave Ron, the neighbors were doing that. I hooked him up, and I went back under the tree and was taking a nap to get that. And all of a sudden, my father waked me up, and he said, Steve, I want to show you something here in the field. And we went all the way around the field, and there were all these corn cobs. Now, it appears that I had forgotten to close the hatch on the gravity box. So me and my father were having this interesting conversation. Most of it was him, as we were picking up the corn cobs. And my father was an opponent of harvester silos. I mean, he said those things have enslaved many people, right or wrong. He hated harvester salesmen. And guess who's walking out into the field as we're picking up cobs of corn? That poor guy from the harvester company. The peanut butter promise will help you close the hatch on your gravity box. The peanut butter promise is a progress, not perfection program. I am a work in progress. I am here telling you that I am challenged by all my information. I'm just the guy who gets to stand up here and share. I'm going to touch here on the laws of the peanut butter promise. We have the law of cause and effect, which means that we do something and then we get a result. In the farm community, we call it the law of sowing and reaping. Yes, it is the law that says that we plant something, there is a season that we wait for it to grow, and then we harvest it. And we cannot make the harvest season go any faster than we want. Tuesdays at my home are truth days. And the truth days is I stand on a scale and it tells me how I've done from the Tuesday before to that one. It does not lie to me. I cannot pray my way to better results than I want. It is like a mirror. it is truth. And the law of sowing and reaping is like that as well. We sit from Mama's deck and we watch the Rons. They spread manure on the field, and then they plow the field, and then they plant. And we asked Dave, what did you plant? And he said, we planted corn. And we're not really sure it is corn until it comes up. And then they cultivate that corn, and then they spray that corn. And just like the crabs in our life, we need to go through at times and spray for the weeds and get rid of the rocks and cultivate, because otherwise the weeds grow by default. The law of sowing and reaping. The next one is the law of accumulation, which means everything matters. We like to have a cup of coffee in the morning, and we used to have this little drip thing. And you come down and you turn the lights on and whatever, and there's this drip, 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 and it doesn't seem like it's doing much, but 15 minutes later you have a pot of coffee, which means everything matters, which means eventually things will add up, both for the good and the bad. How do we accumulate a savings account? We do that by adding to the account. How do we become broke? By the law of accumulation and passing on out. So law of accumulation. Next one is the law of belief. It doesn't matter what we believe. I can tell you that I think that gravity pulls up. And you could say, oh, show us how that works, Steve. Here, you fall forward and we'll see how that works. And as I would be holding my once pristinely white handkerchief to my nose and I would have blood and broken teeth, I would know that the law of gravity pulls down. These are laws, they're non-negotiable things. So be careful, little ears and little eyes, what you're bringing in, because that's what you're going to believe, the law of belief. Next one is the law of expectation, which says so many of those dreams and visions you have, if they're realistic and they line up with your purpose, you can expect them to happen. But you got to go after them. You have to do it. As a young man, there I was. I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be a speaker. And 25,000 cans of beer later, that's the miracle, is these things still happened. So you can still get to where it is that you want to go. If while you have a pulse, you have a purpose. We can get to where we need to go. Expect good things to happen, but make sure your goals are realistic. What is the peanut butter promise? Well, one day I was sitting in the parking lot of one of my favorite coffee shops, and the rain was coming down, and I had this vision for the Coincidence or God Incidents television show, and all of a sudden it occurred to me that I couldn't do this alone. It occurred to me that I had just gotten a call from a television executive in Los Angeles, California, and they said, hey, we can help you move this thing along. And so it dawned on me, we can have all the talent in the world, but we need the scout to discover us. We are not islands to ourselves. We have dreams, we have goals, but we need people to help us, which is really a good thing. Otherwise, we think that we can do it on our own, and all of us know we can't do anything on our own. And so all of a sudden this thing came to me with the peanut butter and the jelly, and I worked it out until all of a sudden I had this revelation after a couple of days, the peanut butter promise, which is this. It is a hope and encouragement-filled, priorities-based, integrity-centered, life-enhancing philosophy that says we're born with every talent, ability, and gift, and the necessary desire to fulfill a God-given purpose. The important part is the God-given purpose. Just as peanut butter was destined to meet jelly, there are people called peanut butter promise partners that will come into your life to help you achieve your dream goals and fulfill your purpose. Those dreams and desires in your heart that are in agreement with your purpose will come true at just the right time. It's the at just the right time part, meaning there is a real timing element to this. The success formula for the peanut butter promise says this, that it is keeping your priorities in order and your integrity intact as you use your talents, abilities, and gifts to achieve your dream goals and fulfill your purpose. That is a different definition than some that we have read in the world that says it's the big house, right? The car, the money, the boats. We're not saying things are bad, okay? What we're saying is that you can be successful if you choose to do things with integrity, keep your priorities in order, and fulfill your God-given purpose. That's the real key to the whole thing.